Hello and welcome back to Mr. Mechanical. So we're carrying on with our Smart and Brown lathe rebuild. In the last video we got the gearbox rebuilt and assembled, and this time we're going to fit the headstock and the spindle, and then either in this video or the next video we'll get the carriage fitted to the bed and hopefully get this lathe finished. I've had more parts cleaned and painted. I've got some parts which I'll maybe show you later that have come back from the shop blasters that just need a lick of paint, and they look really good, those shop blasted parts. As I say, we're going to start with the refitting of the headstock and the spindle, and again, like in the last video, I've got these plans which are very useful for rebuilding this lathe. And the first thing we're going to look at doing is fitting these clamp arrangements on the underside of the headstock, which holds the headstock to the lathe bed. Now when I got this and disassembled it, it actually only had one, so I'm going to have to make something for the front end to clamp that down and probably get a replacement bolt. I'll just show you that part. So that is the part there that just slides under the lathe bed, and then the bolt goes up to the underside. So what I'm probably going to do is cut a bit of flat bar to go on the front face and use that to clamp the front down, and we'll have to drill a hole in it and put a bolt in it. So that'll be the first thing to do. We'll get this fixed down roughly where it needs to be. We won't completely clamp it down because we might need to adjust it to align the gears with the gearbox on the end of here. So I'll get that done and then we'll progress with the installation of the headstock. So we've got the headstock clamped onto the bed now. I just made a clamp for the front out of a bit of 6mm flat bar steel. It's not completely snugged down, tightened up at the moment, because I might have to adjust it back and forward to get it to align with the gears on here, out the back of here. So the next thing we can do is we can put the spindle in. So inside here, where the spindle sits, there's a bit of a felt wick in a spring. I'm going to replace them, and what happens is you can fill oil in this hole here, and there's a bit of a reservoir under there, and then this wick just soaks up the oil. The spring keeps the wick pushed against the spindle, so I'm just going to replace them parts. So here are the replacement wicks I have. And I have some replacement springs. All I'm going to do is here's one I prepared earlier. It's just a new wick in a spring, so we'll drop that one into there. And we'll do the same for the other side. So there's another one, new wick in a new spring, and we'll just put that in the other bearing. then we'll fill this up with oil. So the next thing we can do is we can put the spindle in. Which is here. And we've got this drive gear as well. So just leave that like that for a moment because I need to put the pulleys on. While I'm here, I'll put the belt around it. So then the last thing to go on is there's some spacers and a roller bearing. There it is, we've got the spindle in. So there's just a few bits to go on this end. So we'll just put this on loosely, and then what we need to do is we're looking for about a thou float between this end nut and the headstock. So just going to run a feeler gauge in there so it feels tight. So that's nice and tight now. I'll lock that up. So the next part we're going to put in is this shaft here, which is the back gear, and you can see it's like a two-part shaft, and part of it is offset, a bit like a cam, so you can engage and disengage the back gear just by rotating the handle from this pin position round to this pin position. So we'll get that part in now. I think the paint's actually just making it a bit tight going in, so I'll just clean that bit of paint out of there. So now we've got this like fork to put on, which allows the changeable gears to be positioned and slide up and down these legs. So we'll put that on. There's a guard as well to go with it, and then we'll move on to these gears up here. So we've got all the gears on now, from the spindle down to the gearbox. Got a bit of paint to touch up, but apart from that, the spindle and the gearbox is all working. I can show you it running. Yes, as I say, a bit of cleaning up to do, some paint work to touch up, and that's it. So there's a few covers to go on around this end, so we can put them on, as I say, once I've cleaned everything up, and then we can move on now to the carriage, and get that put back together. So I've got the headstock and the spindle together with all the back gears connected up to the gearbox now, so it actually runs and it drives the lead screw. So the next thing I'm going to put together is this apron and the carriage. I'm going to start with this hand wheel here, which is the manual drive for the carriage, and then we'll move on to the handles and mechanism that operates the power feed, both for the carriage travel and the cross slide. So we'll get on with that now. So the first part we're going to install is this shaft with the gear on the end of it, which just goes in there. Then the hand wheel just goes on the end of that shaft. So we've got the handle on the shaft, we just need to line the holes up for the pin. The next bit to be installed is this gear, which sits on there. I'm just going to put a bit of oil on. And that just engages with that hand wheel. That. So the next part I'm going to fit is this handle here. Comes across here and it has a mechanism inside that engages and disengages a gear for the power feed mechanism. So that's going to go in through a hole in the bottom of the casing here. There's the handle. That'll fit on there. Goes into 3 positions. So it allows you to select, I'm guessing it's a neutral, forward and reverse maybe. I'll have to check the operator manual. So we'll get those parts put together. So we've got the lever on there now. So this is the part that wants to go in next, and we're just going to drop it down through there, so it engages with that gear, like that. Now we can put this part back on. So now we can put the 3 cap head screws in. 1, 2 and 3. The next bit is quite interesting. It's like a clutch arrangement that goes inside here. So we've got this shaft here that has 2 pins on. It compresses that spring down inside there. And then there's a little cast iron handle which goes on the back side of there, screws onto the thread on the end of that shaft, and that's what compresses the spring. Okay. That's it, got that side in. Just need to do the same on the other side. That's it. It's good. So we can tighten that back up again. So I think that's the most complex assembly on this bit. Complete now, in fact probably on the whole lathe, getting that back together, just because it was spring loaded, and you've got them plates to get in on a very fine tolerance. So we've got that lever on there now. So I think what we'll do, now we've got that, we'll flip it over and we'll put the parts on that we drive. I've said it a few times, but once this is fully assembled, I think I might have to give everything a clean, because oily hands and gloves on this white paint is just making it look messy. So once it's all back together and I've finished touching it with oily hands, I'll give it a good clean and a touch up on the paint. So the parts I was talking about that we're going to fit next, which that handle operates, the two parts either side of this lead screw that you can see running through the middle. These two parts here, they open and close on the lead screw. I'll show you. So this one goes on top. There's a pin on the back side that just goes into the back of that lever. So that's it there. If I operate that lever now, you can see it open and closes them two parts. So the last part to go on I believe is this gear. Now unfortunately there was a circlip that held this on, which broke in the process of disassembling. What this gear does is it drives the crossfeed. As I say, I just need a circlip to hold that in position. Which unfortunately I don't have one the right size, so I'm going to have to go out and buy a replacement to go on there. So while I was waiting for the circlip that I broke during the strip down, I got the saddle back together, got the cross slides all back together, and I've got the tailstock back together. So now we can fit the apron to the saddle, which is just secured in place with these two cap head screws, but we'll have to feed it onto the lead screw, so we'll do that. So for now I think that's it. Got a bit of cleaning up to do, but we'll give it a trial run, see if it'll work as it should. See if the power feeds and the cross feeds will work. At the moment the cross feed doesn't seem to be working. I think maybe the gear's engaged on the apron, so we'll see if we can get that to do something. So I think that's the end of this video series. Should have some projects coming up soon using this lathe. Next video I plan to make a power feed for my milling machine, so please stay tuned, subscribe for that, and you can also find me now on Instagram. So thanks for watching the series, thanks for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, comment. Thank you.